the TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.
Hello, Cherries fans, and welcome Everton fans to our opposition preview show. Of course, we've already done our show about David Moyes and how he's transformed the Toffees, but here we have a little bit more a traditional preview where we'll be digging into lots of hot topics around the two teams. Now, before we get going, please hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button below. It helps this channel to grow. And here's a little bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. Find out more about them, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. So Everton in the FA Cup, it was probably a tie that neither side wanted, but we've got it, and it's a game that maybe David Moyes will take a little bit more seriously than Andoni Iraola. Who knows? Now, I do have a very good friend and a returning guest, and it is a pleasure to welcome back onto the show Dan from the Toffee Bluecast. Welcome back to the show, Dan. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good, and a lot happier than the last time we spoke and played.
Yes, I remember that preview. I know we've spoken a couple of times. I know we had quite a few laughs at Spurs, didn't we? And their capitulation, but it's been a whole reversal of fortunes. I said it the other day, and I'll say it again to you, Dan. When you come down here, and of course, I like Everton as a football club, so it really concerns me. But Dyche was taking the club down. The football was poor. It was turgid. There was 0 shots on target, and Dyche was taking the club into the Championship, but of course he got sacked. Were you relieved the day that Dyche got cut from the club?
Yeah, well, I tried to stick behind him because a big reason Everton Football Club have been run so badly is because we've spent money badly, but also because we've changed managers so much, and the manager's brought his players in, another manager's brought his players in. They've all got different styles, and you end up with loads of mismatched players and no particular style of players that go together. So we finally cleared all those players out. It's took us about probably 6-7 years to get rid of all the long contracts, Delphs, and there's been loads. Gabamin, who we signed and was always injured. We cleared every player out and got ourselves to a really thin squad, and now we're in an okay situation. In fact, you know what? FFP was a big reason that we had a big clear out and we've got less players, but it sorted us out. It really has made us have to go to the roots, get rid of all the crap, take all the big players like on big wages off the books and everything. We're just a better run club for the FFP. So we're all on track now. We are on track. Sean Dyche, I stuck behind him. I did stick behind him. He kept us up. And you like think to yourself, you know what? He kept us up, so thanks for that, because you don't want your football club, not like Everton with our history of never getting relegated, to get relegated. So you're happy when he keeps you up, but then I think it comes to a point this season where you think he kept us up, but we need to move forward.
Yeah.
That's the problem, and you don't want to. We're happy he kept us up, but we don't want to be a football. We don't want Dyche to turn us into a team now that is just keeps us up happy, a continuous relegation team, and we got stuck in that sort of mentality with Sean Dyche, where we're like, oh, you know what, we're crap, so we'll just accept Sean Dyche, and we didn't realise that what a good manager could do. And I started to say to Paul, who does the Toffee Bluecast for me, these players are capable of better than this, because Sean Dyche was just at the back, long ball, direct, because he had no confidence to pass the ball through the lines to get to the striker. So it was just acceptance that these players are crap. When he played like that anyway, like the players ain't good enough to pass the ball, get the ball forward, and that's the only way we can score a goal. Sometimes it works because you do get the ball up to the striker, you do get a little bit of success, but you do need to pass the ball in football, of course you do. You do need possession. Like the other team has possession all the time. You are going to lose a lot of games. So it got to the point where I was just like, Sean Dyche, if he doesn't go, we're not going to win a game, because it wasn't. I think the last 2-3 games with Sean Dyche, we wasn't even having a shot on target. I don't think we had a shot on target against you.
No,
like we literally no shot on target, and that's the thing. Like when you're hoofing the ball up and not even having shots on target, you get to that point where you say, what have you got to lose if you change the manager? And then Dyche obviously goes, it become where you think if we don't get rid of him, we're going to get relegated, because you can't see us winning, you can't see us scoring, and he's just drawing a lot of games and not winning anything. So you can tell he's done, and I think he knew he was done. That's why Sean Dyche he went. You could see he wanted to go himself. In the press, he sounded like he was waving the white flag, saying, "I can't offer no more." And then David Moyes comes in. And when David Moyes comes in, it brings us back to, you've got to remember, we've had David Moyes. And when we had David Moyes with a low budget, we was a team that was, without spending money, 7th, 6th, 5th. Then we get 4th. Then we finish above Liverpool with players. We don't spend nowhere near as much as them. Moyes was producing miracles with us. And it broke our hearts when he went to Man United, because it felt like he just ditched us for something else. And he shouldn't have, because he had something good. So a lot of Everton fans was a bit bitter about that, about him coming back, because we're like, you know what, you buggered us off and now you're begging for us to come back. So it was a little bit like that. But then all of a sudden, when Moyes is our manager now, it brings back those old feelings. And then you start to feel like that football team again that can probably with a whole season do what you're doing, finish top half of the season comfortable and enjoy yourself. So, yeah, Moyes is... The thing I will say about David Moyes is, when he come, I thought he's a simple manager, not a lot different to Sean Dyche. And then now I've realised, why did you forget how good David Moyes is? There's a lot more about him. He's a lot better than Sean Dyche, because when you watch us play now, Moyes' tactics are good. He does have tactics. Like we play with 3 defenders and one will go up, but the other players know which one's gone up and they cover it. And the midfielders are coming and getting the ball better. The wingers are often not playing on the wing. They're playing in the 10 position now, because David Moyes has said to Mikalenko and O'Brien, who Sean Dyche didn't play, get forward. If we're going to get goals, we need our wing backs to get forward. And it's encouraging Lindstrom and Jai to get into the 10 positions now. So he's come in. And he's a breath of fresh air, as you can probably tell by my voice. I'm a lot happy. We've won 3 on the bounce, and I don't think Sean Dyche won 4 all season. So we are happy. I don't think we knew, Craig, how good this move was going to be. I think we was happy, but we didn't realise it was going to be this good. And I'm not getting carried away, but to win 3 games is a good start out of 4.
And to be honest, when I've seen Everton playing under Moyes and compare that to what I saw that Saturday, which was a frustrating game, because as poor as Everton were going forwards, defensively, and I think Jordan Pickford, like I say, is one of the best goalkeepers in the league, it was difficult to break that team down, but we kept going and kept going and kept going, and we could put that impetus on the attack because we knew there was no threat the other ends, and that was what Sean Dyche and Everton were doing. But it's completely unrecognisable, under David Moyes. And this game is a completely different scenario to that only a month ago, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, because Sean Dyche. We spoke about this on one of your shows. Sean Dyche said
Mm.
Lindstrom, even Njai, when we first got Njai, who's our best player by a country mile, Sean Dyche took ages to start playing him. Ages to start playing Njai. And said he hasn't got Premier League experience. Lindstrom hadn't got Premier League experience. Beto hadn't got Premier League experience. O'Brien hadn't got Premier League experience. So we signed new players, and Sean Dyche said they can't play because they ain't got Premier League experience, which you're not going to get unless it's Dyche's job to get Premier League experience as quick as possible to get that under the belt. So Dyche didn't really play Lindstrom that much right wing. We played Harrison, which was a big disadvantage for us, a big part of why we wasn't that good. And then he's gone and taken O'Brien and said, you're good enough. Like, I want you to play centre-back, but Tarkowski and Brantford are really good. But I still want you to play because I know you can add something. And he's put O'Brien in the right-back position.
Yeah.
And he's big, he's strong, and he's really composed on the ball. So it feels like we've signed Lindstrom, a new right winger, and it feels like we've signed a new right back just by Moyes making those moves that Dyche could have moved. Dyche could have used, he could have done the same thing. So, yeah, Moyes has made different moves, mate, and he's doing well with us.
Yeah, most definitely. And you are looking up in the table. Moving on to this weekend's game, of course, cup game. We've already played you twice in the league. We won't mention the first. Well, touch on it. I think personally,
can't forget, mate. You can't forget because that's ammunition, mate. I need to. I still will not sleep at night after that first game, after that super comeback that you did until we beat you.
But was it that super though, Dan? Because the thing was as much as it was good substitutions by Areola, it was, and I said this the other day as well, it was tactical suicide.
Yeah, it was.
By Sean Dyche. You don't take off Iliam Njai, and he was running the show for you. And it was within a couple of minutes, wasn't it, from memory? Those substitutions were made. Sean Dyche made his, Iriola made ours, and it was that fusion which really got us back into it. So, although, I personally think, a great comeback. The players had to have the heart, they had to have the determination from our side. Really, Dyche shot your team in the foot, did he really?
Yeah, I think Dyche was a big part of the comeback. I don't think the comeback was possible if Dyche would have tactically set us up better and not made the substitutions that he made. I don't think it would have been possible because I feel Njai, like you said, was making your players think twice about all bombing it forward because they felt he was a threat. As soon as we took Njai off, we didn't really have nothing to scare you. Like you mentioned, on the second time we played, we had nothing to scare you. So you get that freedom to just go for it. So we kind of put it on a plate where you had to go for it because we made that option massively available. But I won't take complete credit away from you because at the end of the day, to score 3 goals, even if we're set up crap and Dyche has made the wrong substitutions, our players still shouldn't concede 3 goals like we did. That was when we played you then, and this is no disrespect, come at me and rip me if you want, but I was thinking, you know what, Bournemouth, I didn't think you was a good team before the season started because you'd got a new manager, you'd lost a few players, you'd lost Solanke and stuff, and I thought, you know what, Bournemouth are going to struggle now because I didn't know who your new players was and stuff like that. And I thought when we played you, I thought this could be a team that's going to be in a relegation battle this season. It's one of our easier games. That's how I seen Bournemouth when we played you that first game of the season. Mm-hmm. Then we played you, and you had a right back that looked really weak, which I've noticed you never play anymore. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what his name was. Highlights in his hair.
I'm trying to.
highlights. It was,
Arejo. He's actually
yeah,
injured. Yes. Yeah.
yes, he and Jai ripped him to pieces. And I generally thought, you know what, this Bournemouth team isn't that good. And then you brought some players on, and those players gelled with what you've had on, and you absolutely come at us like a freaking. You come at us hard. You really did come at us all guns blazing. To score 3 goals in the time you did, you went at us hard, and everything went well for you. And it feels. After that, I was thinking, was we crap or was they good? But you smashed teams after that. That was the kickstart for your season, I feel. When you do that, you come back and you can come back from 2-0 in that short space of time and score 3. I bet it makes you feel confident to be able to do anything for the rest of the season like you did. And I think it massively kickstart your season and put you on to do what you've done.
I got to be honest, yeah, I agree with you on that front. Against Leicester, for example, towards the start of the season, we was beaten 1-0, and we was all over them. But there didn't seem to be that impetus that we would turn it around like we did against Everton. The Everton game for me was though that fusion of mistakes from Dyche, but what Iriola's substitutions were, and considering the season before, Iriola come up to Goodison Park and got a 3-0 smashing. I can understand why you think like that, to be honest, Dan, but of course it is the cup this weekend, though. Just bringing it back to this match, and this is, for me, a really, really, really dangerous fixture. When the 2 balls were pulled out, I was like, I don't like that tie. And the reason being is you want revenge. I can tell Everton want
Yeah, I do.
revenge. Yeah, there we are. Also, though, Sean, Sean Dyche got nothing moving, but
Don't ever
David,
say his name ever
no,
again. I want to
sorry.
forget that name for the rest of my
I'll
life.
scrap that as Sean Dyche. But David Moyes has got Everton moving. You're not going to get relegated. 26 points. He's got you moving in the right direction, and it is completely unrecognisable. But you're not going to get into Europe via the Premier League. But the FA Cup means something to Everton. You have, of course, won it in 1995. That Paul Rideout goal. I'm concerned going into this match.
Well, the thing is, though, it's weird, isn't it? Because, like, you're a team that's in a lot better form than us. And the form
Yeah.
that you're in, you shouldn't be concerned because Bournemouth fans, with how good you're playing, you should be thinking we're miles better than what Everton are at the minute. Like, the way you're attacking and playing. But we haven't proven ourselves yet. We've won 3 games, right? We beat Spurs, who was, no disrespect to them, they was probably at the worst they've ever been when we beat them. So I'm not taking anything away from our win because you still have to go and beat them. We beat Spurs. We beat Brighton, which I thought was fantastic. So I've got loads of respect for Brighton. And all of a sudden, Brighton get battered like 6 or 7 after that, which makes you think, bloody hell, it's taken the sails out of how good that win felt. So, and then we go and beat Leicester, who is a team at the bottom of the league, which you're not going to get much credit for. I feel we're good. But I feel I want to get tested now by a team that's really good to find out how good we are. And I think this game is the perfect test because, Bournemouth are not crap against anyone. Bournemouth, they've been like consistently good all season. So I think if we can step it up against you in this FA Cup and beat you, you start thinking with where you are in the league, we can beat anyone. Give me harder than Bournemouth if we can pull this win off in the FA Cup. Give me a harder team than Bournemouth. And we've got the derby after as well, which, by the way, I don't think is a harder team than you because I think you was unlucky not to draw against them. You got scammed a little bit. But, yeah, I'm ready for this game. And then it builds us up nice to another hard game, the derby. But it's a hard draw. It's not an easy draw, this FA Cup game. It's not one. I know you're saying you're probably scared of us because we're hungry and we're underdogs and we're better than what we probably are on paper, like what people think. People will go, oh, Everton the crap, they're near the bottom, but we are on or up. So I can see why you're a little bit scared of us. So it's going to be a good game.
We were both looking forward to Plymouth or Wycombe Wanderers, weren't we, rather than each other?
Yeah, I want
Somebody
it.
like
I
that.
don't want it the hard way. To be fair, I would rather have both of us played in the final and someone actually won this FA Cup that I like, because I don't mind Bournemouth. But unfortunately, one of us has got to knock each other out.
Yeah. Well, David Moyes, I can't see making any changes to the side because, or can you, because of the Liverpool game coming up? Do you think that Moyes might prioritise this game over the Liverpool one, or will he be looking and thinking that's the Merseyside derby? We still want to get, of course, need to get points on the board, although you are looking safer and safer by the day, by the game in the top flight.
Well, I had this conversation with a few people on X Spaces and stuff, and they're like, obviously Calvert-Lewin's got injured, Brozier's got injured, and we've got Schmeidy injured. So we've only got Beto now that's available as a striker. So some people say if you play him and he gets injured, the Premier League's more important. As David Moyes has said, the main thing is that we go into that new stadium in the Premier League, and that is the most important thing. I can't deny that, because it would destroy the new stadium. It would break all this. If the first game in that new stadium was in the Championship, that would just destroy the feeling of it. It's got to be in the Premier League. So the main focus is you've got to go into that new stadium in the Premier League, which isn't done yet. We've got to keep this form up. But I'm not with these fans that say, "Oh, forget about the cup. Let's just stay in the Premier League," because I think we can do both. I really do.
Yeah,
Strike. You can't have that mentality. Oh, he can't play Beto because he'll get injured. Beto needs games. Beto needs confidence, and if he goes and scores in this, look at Chris Wood. He's playing every game and he's still scoring. They could have rested him, but they didn't. And if they rested him, he probably wouldn't have scored as many goals as he had, and they wouldn't have as many points as they had. And he's not been rested. I think a proper elite footballer playing them makes them better. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
keep playing, keep your confidence up, keep playing. It gets your fitness up as well, because your body's just continuously at peak, because you're like always pushing your body to the max. And if you do rest, sometimes it can be a disadvantage. Say we didn't play better in the FA Cup against you, and he's had last game, and he could have done with this FA Cup game to keep his body up to speed, improve himself a little bit more, and get himself really ready for the derby. We rest him, it could send him backwards, where he could have done with that game, his fitness, and the rest. You know what it's like. You have a week off work, you go back that first 2 days lazy, don't you? So,
oh gosh,
yeah. But when you are continuously working, your body is zoned in to working, and you have that mentality of working hard. You allow yourself to rest. You have to get yourself back into that motion. And yeah, I think I make a good point there, to be fair. For that reason, I believe we've got to play our best team. We've got to find something and use this FA Cup game as to learn more. David Moyes still needs to learn about these players. We've won 3 in a row, but we're not the perfect team yet. We've still got to pass better, still got to defend better, still got to be more clinical on putting players in and score more chances and put better crossings. There's loads to do. So to have this FA Cup game to improve us more, we've got to use it to improve us more. I really hope that we don't rest players, but I am really interested to see whether you want to rest players, because I have been speaking to people and they're like, well, Bournemouth are in a position this season where they can really go for like top 4 or top 6, and they'll be more focused on that in this FA Cup, and they'll rest players for that reason. So tell me, what do you think?
It's a case of what I want and what I think is going to happen. Personally, we've never won the FA Cup. We've never really been close to winning a FA Cup. We got close to winning the Auto Windscreen Shield once, but hey, that's nothing compared to winning, the top trophy apart from the Premier League in the country. So I would love a bit of silverware to go alongside that championship trophy, and we can turn around and say, yeah, we've really, really achieved something. So I'd like us to play our full strength team. However, what I think Iriola's going to be looking at is he's probably going to be thinking, You know what? We have got that chance of getting in, the top five, and that fifth place being a Champions League spot. It would be absolutely incredible. It would be, I'd be pinching myself, to be honest, Dan, if we went into the Champions League. It would be It's one of those stories, when you imagine things, or playing FIFA as a kid years ago, FIFA 97, you used to have to make, we had to make our team on, fit that game because, of course, it was just the Premier League. So you made your team and you got them up the league. They weren't very good, but you managed to get them there and get them higher and higher. And you was dreaming that that might happen in real life, but you knew it was never going to happen. It's like that, but actually, it's all come true. And yeah, I would, you know, I think Iriola's focus will be on, right, let's try and, go for as high as possible, see where it leads us. I think fifth will be enough for Champions League place. And, that would be absolutely incredible. But ideally, I'd like some silverware. And I personally think we can, again, do both. We have got players coming back. So, yeah, I'm kind of in the same camp as you, where I think, yeah, we can do both. But I think Iriola's possibly going to be thinking, focus on the league table and focus on actually getting that fifth or fourth, even fourth spot. We're not out of that. We could finish above Forest. We could finish third this season, which would be unbelievable. But I'd like some silverware. I'd like a day out at Wembley. I would like to go and try and win a trophy.
Yeah, it's hard because it's two sides into it that you've just gave there, and you understand
Yeah.
both. You really do understand both because, like, if you was to focus on the league and
Mm.
you focused on it and you still didn't get Europa League, or you ended up finishing seventh or eighth and didn't get the spot that you wanted, you'd probably think back saying, "Oh, we should have gone for the cup. We could have had a
Yeah.
good cup run." So there is two sides. I completely get where you're coming from. I think you do have to go for them, but you are also in a position where you've got to think to yourself, like, the league, and this is no disrespect to you, by the way, the
Yeah.
league is like really weak this season. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they've been, and I think Bournemouth are playing amazing, Forest are playing amazing, but I don't think you'll get a chance like this to finish second or third this season again.
I do kind of agree with you on that. And yeah, begrudgingly, I have to agree with you on that because I think Spurs will come back into it at some point. Of course, Man United will probably buy their way back into it. I think you guys will actually make some decent signings, especially going into the new stadium. Man City are going to probably try and get another 115 charges and get off them. Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, it probably will eventually go back. And of course, forgetting Newcastle there as well, it will get very, very difficult. It will get very, very difficult. And I think we would possibly, looking at what Everton used to do all those years ago when Moyes was there the first time round, it used to be, you used to have those top four, didn't you? And those top four normally stayed quite fixated, although you did manage to get above Liverpool when they won the Champions League. They were very, very much, it was pretty much fixed. And I think it will probably go back to that eventually. But Iriola might be thinking, well, we can try and break the mold, have this opportunity, to do something incredible. A bit like Villa have done as well last season.
I'm really hoping that this isn't new, because after what we went through with FFP, it seemed the Premier League just want the so-called big clubs to just stay top four, and it felt like
Yes.
they want Man City to. They think Man City, Chelsea, Man U, Liverpool, they all are what the league's about, and they make the league, but they don't. They really don't. And to see you and Forest break the mold of what the Premier League probably don't like, because they've got FFP that's made it hard for teams like Forest to move forward because they're struggling on the financial thing. And Aston Villa are a perfect example as well. Without FFP, I think Aston Villa could have been a lot. Aston Villa have struggled this season because they're in 2 competitions and had to work with FFP. I think if the Premier League didn't do this, is why I say the Premier League are holding them back a little bit and not letting the mould break, like you said. Because if Aston Villa could have just gone bigger, I think they would have gone bigger in the transfer window if FFP wasn't there, and they would have had a better squad, and they would have done well in the Premier League and the thingy. But you can see it's killing Aston Villa to be in 2 competitions. It really is, and they're finding it hard to be good in both, and they can't do that. They need to spend money. So the way the Premier League have got things set up, hopefully it changes, is that the top 5 clubs, the big 5, so-called 5 clubs, are always going to stay, and we're never going to be able to get involved with that. But I hope we do. I really hope that I hope that Bournemouth, team like Bournemouth, keep the form. Team like Forest keep the form. Everton have a good season next season, and we're in that position where we're probably 5th or something like that. And we're like, FFP lets us sign players and lets us become even stronger, and just do what you do the unpredicted, if you know what I mean. I like it better. Football's boring when it's the same team's top 4 all the time.
Exactly.
In fact, when you're looking at Forest now, it's like, Forest are smashing it this season. Bournemouth are smashing it this season. I think that's really exciting. Well, look how excited you are with Bournemouth. How excited the Forest fans are with their team. It's good. We appreciate it more, I feel. Like, we've been through so much. I mean, Bournemouth have got relegated a couple of times. Forest, they've been relegated a couple of times. And I think to go through all those lows and be doing what you're doing now must feel so good, because Everton Football Club, we've nearly got relegated. We've been in three relegation battles in a row.
Yeah.
And to go through all that crap and then be at the top of the mountain enjoying the view after knowing all the crap that you've been through, will just make achieving something feel twice as good. So I can see why you'd want the cup as well, because to go through what you've been. Other fans that don't support your football club will not know of what happened when you went down, or what happened when you got promoted, or how the games felt in the Championship. So I honestly do believe that you're good. I hope you stay good. It's really going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen with Bournemouth, because the way I see it, outside looking in, is you've gone and landed on some fantastic players. Like, transfers. You've landed probably about 8 really, really good players that probably was risks, like diamond risks, that could be crap, that could be good. And they've come good. And you're at that point now where these players, you signed them, I don't know what the prices was, say 10, 15, 20 million, and they're probably worth about 70, 80. They're playing that well, probably even more. Our team's going to come in, invade, and take these players. It always scares me. I personally would rather keep hold of the players, because you're in that situation now where if you keep your players, you know your players are only going to get better, and you've got a really good team. If you start selling them, are you going to put that money back in, or are you going to get players as good? Because it doesn't always work out that you're going to get good players. It's a big risk. It's happened to us with Bramthwaite. I'd rather keep our best players, because you want to keep them and build around them. It's the only way that we're going to win a trophy or get top 4. So it's going to be interesting on what you do with your players. And like I say, you don't want them to get injured, though. You mentioned to me about the FA. Obviously, we're talking about the FA Cup because this is a big game coming up. But do you feel injuries could really affect you? Have you got a big squad? Do you feel kill you?
To be honest, they have threatened for a large part of the season. And Iriola just keeps coming up trumps. And he seems to find a way. Like Lewis Cook, he's not a right back. But Arejo, of course, who did play against Everton that game, that 3-2, and Adam Smith, who's, a well-known veteran here, both are out. So they're both out. But Lewis Cook's been taken from midfield, plays at right back now. And to be honest, he's made the position his. He's looking absolutely fantastic in that position. Up front, we had, of course, Evan Nielsen injured. Then we had Enis Unal, ACL the following day. What he's done, taken Dango from the left-hand side of midfield, put him up front, and I think he's a better player up front than on the left-hand side, where he was swinging in balls which were going too long, too short. Some of them didn't go anywhere at all. He's become a better player, and that is what Iriola has done with this side. Is he kind of there's a sort of fluidity to these players. There's sort of a backup plan. It's not just right. Okay, you're a right back. You're always going to be a right back. He's buying players and he's developing players to have like a second position. So he's got lots of different cogs, and I'm pretty sure he's got some more ideas. If we do get an injury, touch wood, it won't happen. But say, for example, Justin Kluivert gets injured. All right, okay, we're a little bit stuck now in the midfield. I'm pretty sure that he'll have another player to come in to fill that gap where we might thought that's a bit of a strange decision. So I think that's what Iriola's done. But these players, we've adapted and adopted this Brighton Brentford model of finding gems. And then, unfortunately, we have to put the clauses in their contracts, as we've seen with Dean Howson, where it's been discovered that there is a minimum fee release clause in there. Sometimes we have to make that compromise to actually attract them to this football club because we are small. But I'll throw the question back to you, Dan, because, of course, Everton, I think personally, it's fair to say, Everton haven't spent money very well over the past 5 years. I don't agree with the FFP because at the end of the day, attacking just Everton and Forest was wrong when you've got two of the biggest culprits, Man City and Chelsea, completely untouched and look untouchable because of who their owners are and how many lawyers they've got. But the question I want to pose to you, though, Dan, is don't you think that Everton, if they adapted or adopted that sort of model that Bournemouth, Brighton, Brentford did, you could do it 10 times better because you are a bigger club. You have got more, you can attract better players. You can, let's be fair, if somebody from South America was looking at, and had two offers on the table, one from Everton and one from Bournemouth, which one would they go for? I think they probably go for Everton because it's well known, a well-known football club.
Yeah, well, under obviously won't go back too far, but under Mashiri, it was like Mashiri he just wanted to put money down, and he was buying names, not ability. If you know what I mean, it was more just so he went to pay 50 million on Sigurdsson, who was just. And the problem is, Everton wasn't doing that well. So a lot of when Mashiri took over, a lot of players didn't want to come to Everton. So we'd overpay to get those players, first of all.
Yeah.
And we'd overpay to get them. And we'd get a player that probably isn't that good anyway, because he'd probably get to a better team because we wasn't playing that well. And that was the position within a Mashiri continuously signed players on big wages that finished. We didn't get. And I always said, like, Mashiri, when he come in, if he was a proper good owner, the first thing Mashiri should have done is said, right, I am going to get the best young kids around in football into that academy and make it the best academy possible. All the best young kids. It wouldn't cost much because academy kids ain't expensive. So he could have done that. And then in 5 years' time, those kids would be the best footballers around. So it was something to fall back on, a contingency plan for Mashiri, where it would also make him money as well. So this FFP, where Everton have been struggling with, we could have then, these players would have come on to being good players. We've seen it loads. Young kids are worth a lot of money. It was like, example, Gyökeres, Coventry sold him for 22 million. Now he's worth 80 million. He was in the Championship. Loads of these young players are worth a lot more now. I can give loads of examples, but that's what you want to do. You want to buy the young kids that you think can come good, and if they come good, they're going to be worth a lot of money, or you can put them back into the team. So we did nothing to our academy. We've had our academy just Mashiri didn't touch it. He was too snobby to think about an academy, and all Mashiri did is just went, I'm going to try and get this team top 4. I'm going to rush to do it. I'm going to keep changing the managers to do it, overpay to do it. It got us in a bad financial situation because it catches up with you like a credit card. You keep spending it, you still have to pay it off. You know what I mean? It can be trouble. And that's what Mashiri was like. He kept doing stuff, no consequences. Then later on, it's like, you've spent this much, you're in trouble. And it bit us in the arse. And we've had to go through the patch that you just spoke about now, where FFP, I think we got scammed on it a little bit, because when we got the point deductions with FFP, it was when we wasn't spending, when we was actually abiding by the rules, do you know what I mean, to get on track. So they got us on stadium costs when other teams, West Ham, was allowed to not put the stadium costs into FFP, but they did us on it bad when you look back. But it is what it is. But now we are recruiting well. I mean, you look O'Brien from Lyon, a young lad. I think he's going to be fantastic. We signed him for 20 million. Branthwaite was 1 million. And there was talk of him in the transfer window. Man U wanted him for 60, 70 million. And I do think he's worth a lot of money, Branthwaite. There's Njai, I think, is a fantastic signing, a player that was flopping it abroad. And we bring him back, and he's sensational. Shamiti, with buying young, brought young, he could become a good striker. So I do believe we've got James Garner's a good player. We've just gone and brought Timothy Rabunum. So I do think we're going like what you're doing now. And that's why I say FFP has been a blessing in disguise, because where with Mashiri we was too snobby to look at young players with potential, and we just wanted to buy players that was already proven and waste money. Now with FFP, we've been forced to not have a big budget and take risks on potential but isn't already proven. And you get good prices on that. And now we are becoming that model like you. I honestly do believe we're on the verge of being similar to you. Your fantastic players that you're scared of losing. I'm the same with some of ours, with Branthwaite. I think O'Brien will be fantastic. I think Njai will be hard to keep hold of. So we are getting there now on that model, and I think it's a lot better and kicking in.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, both our clubs go onwards and upwards, because, like I say, I've got a lot of time for Everton, as you well know, and hopefully, there's lots of success. And you never know. In a couple of years' time, Dan, we can be right up there at the top, battering the big boys. I think Man City
I just seen I just put a video on the Toffee Bluecaster. They're putting the lines at Bramley Moore Dock. The lines have been put around the pitch, and the goalposts have been put in because we're letting the under-21s play it first to do the tests and stuff like that. And the stadium at the Dock just looks fantastic. Like, everything's there now. Everything is there in place for us to become a top club. It won't just happen, but we'll never have a better chance to become a top club with that new stadium. The FFP will get better because we'll turn over better money. So I think it's going to be better times, but it's never given to you on a plate, as you know that. You've got to earn it. You don't know what as you said earlier on, a lot of teams are underperforming this season, and although we've been ripping them and we've been loving it, it's so nice to see Man U fans' heads falling off, Tottenham fans' heads falling off. It's what football's all about, banter. We know that they're going to want to get strong again. We know they're going to be decent next season, so it's not going to be easy. The Premier League is going to get harder and harder, so we've got to be ready.
Well, of course, it could well be the last ever FA Cup game at Goodison Park if Bournemouth was to win.
No!
Will it be the last ever FA Cup game at Goodison Park? How's it going to go? Go on.
It's a hard game. Like this, I am competitive, and we love our football club, and we're supporters, and if we don't believe they can do it, then they probably won't do it, and they won't believe it themselves. And I always say this: you get some Everton fans that are like, "Oh, we'll lose," and they just like to think we're going to lose because they don't expect that much. But you're supporters of your football club, and you're You're the hope. You are always the hope. I never get these people that say, "Oh, no, I'm not even going to think we're going to win." No, I always believe we're going to win because you've got to. And this FA Cup for me, it's Coleman's last season. Coleman, it definitely will be Coleman's last season. And Coleman, he said on one of the interviews, like, people call him a legend because we love him. There's no better human being on the planet than Coleman. But they said you're a legend because he's such a nice person. He's been so loyal to our football club. And we call him a legend just because of that, because he is, because of that. But he says, I'm not a legend because I've never won a trophy at Everton. And this is his last season, Coleman. And nothing, honestly, football-wise, like, away from my family, nothing would make me happier than to see Coleman lift this FA Cup. And we used to, if you know your history, you know what I mean? We used to win stuff back in the day all the time. But it's been a very long time, and it would be so special if we could lift. I think we've got to take this FA Cup seriously because under David Moyes, you know, I do believe we've got a chance of beating anyone just because we're defensively strong. So we can always like take a team to extra time or penalties because we're really defensively strong. But Moyes has got us actually scoring goals as well as that. So we, in a cup, that's what West Ham was the same under David Moyes. West Ham fans wasn't happy with him because it wasn't always the prettiest football. But he got West Ham defensively strong and he got them knowing how to nick the goal to win a game. And he won West Ham the cup with that. Yeah. And he'd do that with us because the cups sometimes don't need to be pretty, do they? They don't need to look back and say, I won that game 4-0, I won that game 5-0, I won that game 6-0. It's not often a team doesn't smash it all the way through the cup. You can get someone play crap, win 1-0, win 1-0. And then all of a sudden in the final, win 5-0. Doesn't matter. So I am really excited for this. But I know it's massive for you, like you said, because if Bournemouth won a trophy, if you won a trophy, if you won the FA Cup this season and you got the position that you wanted, say 5th or 4th, that you'll never, ever get that for a lot. I'm not saying you'll never get it again because I don't want to, your hopes are always there, but that would be like incredible, wouldn't it?
To be honest, I don't think it would ever be beaten unless we did a Leicester or went and won the bloody Champions League, which, let's be honest, is not going to happen. You know, it might do if you play FIFA on bloody amateur mode, but, you know, it's not going to happen otherwise. So
to lift the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the season, if, like, obviously Everton are going to win this, I'm an Everton fan. But at the end of the season, this is just a scenario. If Bournemouth, you lifted the FA Cup, and you had your parade, and you had that sort of feeling at the end of the season. But then to top it off, that feeling doesn't need to end because you're in the freaking Europa League after as well. Like, you get to have that experience as well. It'd be the best, like, 2 seasons of your life, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. Most definitely. Most definitely. Have we got a big enough squad to actually get through, you know, a European competition? You know, if we got into... Because the league stage, especially if we was in the Europa League, you'd hope that we'd get through it, you know, or get into the playoff round. If it's the Champions League, no way in a million.
Does it make you feel? And this is how we've been in this situation before. Because we used to have Lukaku and a couple of other players when we was in Europa League getting really far in it. We used to have like Lukaku that said, I'm not going to play for Everton unless they're competing in Europa League. Does it make you think that you've got more chance of holding on to these players if you do get into these competitions?
Yeah, I think so. If we don't get into a European competition, Zabania will go to a team that is in that. Dinghausen will go to a team that is in a European competition. You know, the teams that he's been linked with. Kirkes, he's been linked with that lot across the other side of the park from yourselves at the moment anyway, until you move to Bramley Moore.
It also knocks the thing is though, right? Even if like they might leave anyway, I hope you keep your good players, but they might leave anyway, even if you got into Europa League or Champions League or whatever. But it also, what you don't realise is it knocks the prices up as well. Because if Bournemouth are a team that are more appealing to stay because you're in the competitions, then a team that wants them has got to pay even more to get them away from you because they don't need to leave. Do you know? you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it knocks the prices up even more as well because he's happier. Like, I'm in a good competition. I don't need to leave this club. I'm in a good situation, and then they have to really force it. Then, so you're going to get top end. If the worst case scenario was that you lost the player, I know you don't want to lose him because I wouldn't. But
Yeah.
if you did lose him, at least you get top money for losing him. Which hopefully, with the recruit, the good thing is, I hate talking about losing players, and I know you wouldn't want to lose them because you fall in love with them. But if you did lose the player, the way you've been recruiting players, you must make you feel a little bit better about that because say you got like 180 million, 90 million for a centre back.
Yeah.
I think you could go and buy another. It would hurt because you don't want to see him go and you fall in love with him. But I think you could go and probably buy another 3, 4, 5 good players.
I think Frano and Pinto have probably got a little scrapbook of players from all across Europe and beyond. Of course, Julio Sola, we signed from Lanús in Argentina, and I spoke to effectively what is the Clive Tilsey, Martin Tyler of Argentinian football, and he turned around to me and he said, in a couple of years' time, he's going to be better than Milos Kerkez, and I was like, what? Milos Kerkez is fantastic. He's bloody wanted by Liverpool for a reason, because he's been solid. He is the best left back in the Premier League by far. I know some Fulham fans say about Robertson. I don't believe it. I don't agree with it. Kerkez is the best left back in the league by far. And they've managed to find somebody that, a journalist, and this is, a well-known journalist in Argentina. It's not just anybody. He presents on all the European games, presents on all the Argentina internationals. He's turning around and saying, this guy's going to be something else. He's going to be better. It says something. It says something about our recruitment.
Makes you feel a lot more confident as well. I mean, to have a backup plan. We're talking about how we're run. But like, if you know you've got players coming up behind the pipeline undercover that have got that much potential, you don't feel like if once these players are gone that you've got that it's the end. You feel like the Bournemouth being this good and this new good Bournemouth isn't going to end. You know what I mean? You always need something coming through to make you better and better. And if you've got players coming up that have got that much potential, then things are only going to get better.
Hand on heart, Dan. I don't think we've made a poor signing since we've been back in the Premier League. Maybe Hamid Traore, but I think that was more because of that he was feeling a little bit homesick. Max Aarons, maybe, but again, I think it's probably Iraola's preference. Max Aarons has got a lot of quality. I don't think we've made a poor signing since we've been back in the top.
How much did you pay for Max Aarons and sell him for?
Max Aarons, he's gone out on loan. I think it was about 12 million. I think it was about 12 million.
Yeah, it's still good. Still good business, isn't it? It's not like you paid 25, 30 million for it.
We'll sell him. I think we'll sell him and make the money back. I honestly do.
So it's not a big loss.
No, I don't. Sorry, 7 million. 7 million. It's normal. To be honest, we tend to make signings around about that 12, 15 million pound mark. If you've noticed the trend, you have a look at our transfers. That's what we aim for. Okay, Evan Nielsen was something else. He was 40 million. Max Aarons was on the lower side. So a fee of 7 million, which I think personally will make back. He's on loan at Valencia at the moment. If he does well there and helps keep them in the La Liga, then there's every chance that I don't think he fits into Iraola's plans, but there's every chance that we could find that we'll sell him quite easily to somebody else on the continent, or maybe a team that comes into the Premier League.
No, I agree. I honestly think that he's still a 10 million pound player, and if he goes down as a good loan, he'll get himself to that price for you. So if that was the only thing that really went wrong was Max Aarons and one other player, it's been a really good investment because when you are shopping with not a big budget, you take risks. You've got to take risks, and sometimes they'll come off, and it feels like, say, you've gone and got 10 players and they all could be a risk, but 8 have come good and 2 you're not sure about. So that's if you keep recruiting like that, it's going to go good. There's always going to be the odd player that isn't right, that's gone wrong. But if every time you're recruiting, your percentage is 80% of them are good, I think you'll be okay. We'd all take that.
Do you know what? I laugh back now at what I even said. And there's a video on here where I was speaking to Mark McAdam of Sky Sports. And, I turned round to him and we was going through each of the transfers. And the one I was most concerned about was Semenyo, because he blew hot and cold at Bristol City. And I absolutely love the man.
Yeah.
And it shows...
He's I put him up. So I watch a lot of football and I do watch a lot of the Premier League, and I put him up. And when we were struggling, I was like, we could do with someone like him. And he's unreal. Semenyo is just he really is so good. Like, he reminds me a little bit like Njai, your player that just loves the stage, just turns up. When you look around and say who's going to take it to him, he's always taking it to him. He's always trying to have shots on target. He'll always take players. And his game, he doesn't have, from what I've watched him, because I watched Bournemouth quite a bit, he doesn't have many off games, does he? He's always on it. Some things won't go for him, but he's always doing something or causing some sort of damage. And then the other winger that you've got, that you've just played as striker now, he's been doing the job. You said earlier on, you're getting the best out of your players, and you really are. And I think David Moyes is doing that with us now. I think he's bringing out the best of everyone. And we've moved O'Brien, who isn't he's a centre back. We played him right back, and David Moyes has managed to get him to think, wow, I love our right back O'Brien. He's playing fantastic there. And I know we spoke before about your winger. I can't remember his name, but he's gone from on the wing to striker now, and he's still smashing a striker, doing the same. And he is doing really well. And I've watched him actually. He's funny because when I've watched him, he doesn't look like he's got loads of skill or anything, but he's a workhorse and he's always in the right position at the right time. And I think that's why he's so dangerous as a striker. Like, if anything's in the box where you can score from, or you can be a nuisance, he is there. Balls will get crossed in and he's there. And you think, bloody hell, how are you in the right position? How are you in the right position? He's always in danger zones, isn't he? So it makes sense that he's put him in a striker for that, because his attacking positions are so dangerous. And I think that's why your manager's done that.
You've hit the nail on the head with Dango, to be honest, Dan, because I honestly think, like you say, he hasn't got a lot of skill. He is a hard-working player. He's one of those that gets really stuck in, but his reading of the game is pretty good. He seems to know where he needs to be at a particular time. Crossing a ball, some of them will go in, far wide. Some of them were coming too short, and you think, well, it's so frustrating. There was a lot of Bournemouth fans that were like, we don't rate him. We don't rate him because the crosses that from somebody like Sinistera or Semenyo or Brooks or players like that, or Tavernier, are so much more sublime. They are hitting the target. They're hitting where we need them to be. Where Dango's were going just way too far or too short, or he's doing some weird stuff and tapping the ball back, but his pass wasn't even making it. But in that forward position, he's been outstanding.
Yeah, but from what I've seen, like you said, the crosses was good on the other side. His crosses wasn't that good, but because the crosses was good on the other side, he was always coming onto them. He's always coming onto the crosses. And as we just touched on, positional sense. And I think it's one of them where Semenyo was that good at crossing and stuff. He's putting stuff in and he's pulling in, and he's cutting in and jumping on Semenyo being so good and putting that stuff in that he's ended up in those striker positions and he's scoring goals. And I think it's just kicked off from there, where Semenyo's been putting such good stuff in. It's drawing the other winger into the striker position to think, you know what, I'm going to jump on this winger on full. And he's ended up doing that. And he's in the striker position most of the time anyway. So your manager's probably just thinking, why don't I just play him in that position? It's not going to change much and it's going to work. And that's probably where it's all come from.
And in the first game against Forest, that's what we did. We threw Semenyo up front, which kind of meant, okay, Semenyo can play that role up front on his own, like Dango can, but you're then taking the outlet from on the wing, somebody who's getting those balls into the box. And Semenyo, without a shadow of a doubt, is the man that does that best in the team. So, yeah, I think Iriola's made a lot of very, very good decisions. But Dan, before I let you go, do tell everybody where they can find the Toffee Bluecast, mate.
Yeah, so on YouTube, you just type in Toffee Bluecast and we'll be there. We've been going for 3 seasons and we're already on like 5,300 or 200 subscribers. So we're getting a lot of support. We've had Begovic on the show. We've had a sports psychologist on the show, which I was quite proud of. He was decent. We've had BBC Mersey, Julia, who works with Everton. She's been on the show. So we're a Toffee Bluecast, and we work our asses off, as I know you do, to just give people the best content on YouTube as we possibly can and bring our fans together that we love. So, yeah, Toffee Bluecast on YouTube. On X, Toffee Bluecast there. I think we've actually got a good following on X, actually, about 12,000 Evertonians on there. So we're about, mate, and we're trying to build ourselves up, and we're getting there. We are getting there. But the main thing is we love it. We love it, and so does everyone else because they listen. So, Toffee Bluecast.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. Hit that link in that description and go and subscribe to Dan and the lads, because I tell you what, you do a fantastic job. Mate, it's been a pleasure as always. No doubt we'll catch up before the season's over, because you know how much I love talking to you as well, mate. But keep up the great work. Of course, not too much luck this weekend. We do want the FA Cup ourselves. I know
A big
that
game.
you.
It's just talking about it now to
Yeah.
yourself. It's like I actually like you as a person. We speak to each other a lot off the channel, so
Yeah.
I know how big it would be for you to win the FA Cup, and as rightly so as a fan. I'm glad you've had that dream that I've got with Everton to win the FA Cup. We've both got that FA Cup dream, and so we should. And I think that gives all the materials for a good game, and I'm really excited for it. It is going to be a cracking game because there's 2 teams that we've won 3 in a row, and you're just having a cracking season. And I don't know whether you watched a couple of the Rockies, against Apollo Creed. He did come back after getting smashed up, and I want us to come back after getting smashed up by you. Still getting
we've got Adonis Creed in Michael B. Jordan.
There you go. It's going to be a cracker.
It's an absolute pleasure. And if you do end up knocking us out, I really, really do want you to go on and win the FA Cup.
Yeah, same.
If you end up knocking us out.
Whoever wins, right, you best win it. You know what I mean? Because don't stop us if you're not going to win it. That's what I'm saying. Don't stop us from winning it if you're not going to win it. So if we lose, which we're not going to do, because we're going to kick your ass, and I can't wait for it. But if we do lose and you win the FA Cup, I'll just be thinking, my mate Craig is happy. Bournemouth fans deserve it. Fair play. We lost to them. At least they're a team that appreciating it and having a good time of it instead of it going to some stupid fans that I don't like.
Yeah, exactly. Don't want it to go to Man City. Definitely don't want it to go to Man United and that lot across the other side of the park. No way. But mate, wish you all the very, very best after this game. And yeah, pleasure as always. And hopefully everybody has enjoyed this Everton Bournemouth loving, to be honest, because that's pretty much what it's become, hasn't it?
Yeah. We'd like to rival, but we just can't because we like each other's teams too much.
Exactly, mate. No, thanks so much, Dan. And I'll speak to you soon.
See you later.
Cheers, mate. And thanks for joining us. Hit the like, subscribe, the bell button below. Helps this channel to grow. Also, do check out all of our other interviews as well. Now, Everton fans, I did have Paul Rideout on the show a little while back. The man that scored the goal in 1995 to win you the FA Cup. So do go check that out. Is that a good omen for your team? Who knows? It was before the 3-2 win for Bournemouth, but Yeah, just saying. Do go check out. Also, we've had Damon Minchella on this show as well, of Ocean Colour Scene. He's been on twice, so go watch those interviews. Until the next one, thank you for joining us. Up the cherries, up the toffees. We'll see you soon.
The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.